Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Kwele Tour Durban. This is event number 2. The guys had an amazing race last week. It was a tough one on the hilly route. Today we are actually on a more flatter route. So if you can imagine the Tour Durban event, last week we did the massive climb up to the M7 and then down the M19. Today it's a nice flat route. The guys are racing in London, 47 kilometers and 320 meters of vertical elevation. Once again, we have Jamie Taylor in studio with us today for the commentary, replacing Tony Harding from last week. Jamie, how's it going?
Yeah, good, fun, and midweek. Glad to be back. Thanks to everybody for putting up with Tony for a Wednesday evening. I believe he did a good job. I didn't listen. But yeah, looking for a flat, fast race tonight. And it looks like, according to last weekend, it's the same names that are popping up. There's a couple of new names on the start list. Hopefully some fresh legs that we can talk about.
So today's route, very flat, only 320 meters of vertical elevation for the total 47 kilometers for these guys. It's going to be 2 laps of the Greater London, the greatest London flat circuit. So I mean, if you look at those kind of that elevation gain on the right hand side of the screen there, it's not much. I think this is going to be one for the sprinters. If you can imagine the Tour Durban route itself, it's probably more like the kind of rolling hills going out towards Belito and then on the way back. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely a sprinter's route. I don't think the bumps in the profile are going to make too much difference to anyone's legs. But in saying that, it's also difficult because you're going to be riding a long time, probably at a 1 or 2% gradient, which does put a sting in the legs. And yeah, it's the kind of race that a strong guy at the end is going to win. But in saying that, stranger things have happened, and yeah, we've got, I think, north of 120 riders that are lined up across the various categories tonight. So some fantastic support going out to the virtual Tour Durban.
Amazing. But before we head over to the start line, let's just run through the results from last week. It was the first event in our second series. Six events in the second series. Last week was event number 1, which means the results from last week will be the GC going into this week. So let's head over to the men's A category. Last week was a pretty exciting race. We saw Tyron White just edging out Travis Stedman, the junior cyclist. It was just on the line where Tyron White kind of, I would say, lunged if it was in the real world, but just managed to put that extra bit of power down to outsprint Travis Stedman to the line ahead of Brennan van Eerden. It's great to see him kind of moving up the ranks. In third spot, it was Brennan van Eerden, obviously. Then we had Andries Negrini in 4th, Dylan Geary in 5th, another junior cyclist right up there racing the week in, week out professionals. Great to see Luke Chambers there, the rider down from Durban, also in the top 10. So Jamie, the kind of the usual suspects we've seen week in, week out. Yeah,
I think over the last 10 or 11 weeks, there's a certain caliber rider that's figured out how to race on Zwift. And there's certain riders that this kind of platform suits. It's short, heavy efforts, suits a lot of the youngsters because the guys that are getting results have got a big track background. But there's definitely an art to it. There's no reason you're seeing the same guys pop up week in, week out. They figured out how to race it. I think probably Tyron's probably the most experienced guy in there with regards to applying the power-ups and obviously understanding the gaming component of Zwift. But yeah, as I've said a few times, it's nice to see a platform where the old, the young, and the getting old all manage to line up together. And if you look at the series 1, coming down to a count back on the actual overall time, there was 1 minute difference between a 10 race series, which is insane. It's hell of a close and hell of a competitive.
Amazing. So let's take a look at the B category. I see some pretty well-known names on the start line today. I'm watching the Zwift screen at the moment on my right-hand side, and I see Dino van Heerden has taken to the start line. He's from DVH Cycles down in Durban, an ex-world champion actually in the vets category. So we got some powerhouses on the start line today. But going back to last week's results, we have Eaton, he's a junior cyclist as well. Engelberg taking home the race, winning the B category last week, ahead of Marcus Martinez from Becker Steel and Michael Cannon. So that's the B category podium from last week. In the men's C category,
Michael Cannon get a new team, or we signed somebody while I was away last week. Did Tony give him a contract?
Offers Gurana 20 race. I was about to ask that, but brilliant to see you.
Congrats, Michael. Welcome on board.
Does he have the kit yet?
Yeah, it's in the post. The points is that his points or his age on the 21?
Yeah, that's his points. But you're as young as you feel, eh?
There you go.
So this series has been working a bit differently. We have the A category, the B category, the C category to kind of open it up to two more riders, and then the D category is the women's cat. So let's head over to the C category. In the C category, we had only two riders finishing there, Shane Graham and Khalil Haiter. So that's the C category. Thanks for getting involved, everyone. It's great to have more riders on the start line. As Jamie said, over 110 riders on the start line tonight, so that's definitely great to see this event growing, the virtual tour of Durban. Let's quickly run through the ladies category there. Yeah, Courtney Webb just coming over Joe van der Winkel there in last week's race. Francis Janssen van Rensburg riding up the podium. Lauren Cannon, Chloe Batterson as well. So a nice group of ladies taking to the start line. I do see there's more ladies on the start line this week, so that's great to see as well. But Courtney Webb, that's great to see her showing that she can stick it to Joe van der Winkel, who won the series, our very first series. Jamie?
Yeah, I see, just quickly off topic of entries, I see there's a message in from Kent saying that today's race is actually 54 kilometers, but there's a 7-kilometer lead in. What does that mean?
That's the lead into the finish line. So they'll do 2 laps of the actual circuit, and then the lead in would be kind of a side diversion off the main route. So the lead in will be 7k. So 55 k's, you say?
Yeah, 54 k's, and then including a 7k lead in.
So is that 54 k's plus 7?
I don't think so. What have we got it down on the? I think it's just you doing, like you say, you do two laps, and then you obviously go off onto a side road and
so that's
finish
the 47 k's plus the 7k lead in. The junior cat, before we head over to the start line quickly, Travis Stedman obviously finishing second overall. He was the first junior, Dylan Geary in second, and Warren Moorman, the rider from Steel and Pipes down from Durban as well, rounding off the podium. Chloe Batterson winning the ladies junior category. So that's great to see. Team standings going into week number 2 in the second Tour Durban race, sponsored by Quelle, is Absolute Motion. That's the youngsters down from KZN as well. Steel and Pipes also from KZN. That's Travis Stedman, Warren Moorman, and Dion. KZN development team. Jeez, the KZN boys taking out the top 3 in the team classification, beating the Continental team, Pro Touch. So great to see the youngsters coming through. Who we don't see there, unfortunately, Jamie, is your boys from Office Guru.
They have taken a leave of absence. So some of the guys have got some varsity commitments that they're busy with at the moment. There's some product changes on bikes, so some of the guys are actually on mountain bikes at the moment. So a little bit of chaos, but it gives Pro Touch an opportunity to get back the title. I think that they'd won with one race to go, and then was unfortunately snatched from under them due to load shedding. So but it's nice to see there's a lot of development happening in KZN. There's a massive hole in South Africa with regards to talent coming through the ranks, and obviously filling the void as these guys get older and move out into the work world. Shout out to the boys in KZN and Steel and Pipes for backing those youngsters, and it seems like their formula's working.
3 minutes to go before these riders head off into the distance and onto the road. Let's head over to our sponsor screen just to take a look at at the sponsors of the Tour Durban. Massive thank you to Tour Durban for putting this race on, and Aquile, Cornubia Mall, Cycle Lab, the Sharks, obviously Durban itself, which is the warmest place to be this time of year, and also the Domino Foundation. So part of the donation that goes to this race, it obviously goes back into the Domino Foundation as well as the Phil Liggett Foundation. So both foundations, the guys are riding for a good cause, and we thank you to everyone for getting those donations in. If you do want to donate throughout today's race, there is the QR code which you can use to scan. So it's very quick and easy to make a donation. You take your phone, turn on the camera, and you scan that code, and you'll be able to make a quick donation. So if it's $10, $20, $50, or $1,000, the contributions go a very long way.
Thank you to Brett, by the way, for stomaching my illiteracy when it came to trying to pay via the apps and everything else. We managed to figure it out eventually, and it was actually quite a simple process. So I was backwards and forwards like a bit of a doffy over email. So thanks, Brett, for pointing me in the right direction.
Brett Duncan?
Yep.
So Brett Duncan is our presenting sponsor in these virtual Support SA Talent virtual races. He is from Trade Route Active, and we are very grateful that they have come on board as a main sponsor for all these races. So a massive thank you to Brett and his team. As always, there's always a discount on wine for the evening. Duelhof Wine's also still involved, and they are giving us some discount, up to 50% discount. So there's the coupon code. Just use it on their website, duelhof.com, and you can get up to 50% discount. ProTouch is the coupon code. But we're nearly going here, Jamie. 1 minute to go as we count down.
1 minute to go. Aquile Virtual Tour de Urban. It is always a race that we look forward to going to, because you get out of Joburg and it's close enough that you can kind of get in there on the Saturday morning, have a good day buggering around in Durban, race Sunday, and then you're back in the afternoon. So it's sad that we're staring at a computer screen enjoying that race, but those are the cards that we've been dealt, and we make the most of it and try and keep everybody involved and excited about the platform.
Definitely, it's always like you say, it's a nice weekend away. Joburg's always very cold at that time of the year. And although it's normally a chilly morning, the day normally warms up, and after the race you normally go to kind of the Suncoast area there, and you have a day on the beach. So it's unfortunate we can't race the real race, but as I say that,
this is a good substitute, and we racing is underway.
Boom, and there we have it. We are currently watching Dino van Heerden's screen. Let me just quickly get my name off the screen there. So Dino van Heerden, very well known down in the Durban KZN area, and as well as around South Africa. He is a multiple South African champion in the vets 30 to 35, as well as the 35 to 39 category, and it's great to see him taken to the start line. He's a world champion as well, as I mentioned just now, and that was in the 30 to 35 category.
Sure.
So he won the world championships. So if I'm looking at his profile picture on his Zwift profile, and he's wearing the world champs kit. So that's the Grand Fondo, which you can take part in every year. There is an amateur version, but for the 18 to 29 category. So there has been a few South Africans who kind of target that race each year. But we see him straight onto the front, putting in a big attack.
There's also another famous, I say famous name, somebody's name who's been associated with South African bike racing from probably when I was a junior and before that. Now is I think the official title is the Road Director of Cycling South Africa, and obviously a very accomplished coach and mentor to a lot of riders. So nice to see Alistair Garnett lining up. I know he's been quite active in the time trial series that have been taking place on, I think, on a Tuesday morning. So nice to see him out supporting the Sport SA Talent and Aquile Tour de Urban.
He's a very good coach. I know one of the ProTouch youngsters, Callum Ormiston, is coached by him, and Callum doing a great job coming through the ranks and showing that he can stick it to the older guys on his team.
I know his 2RC, Tim Cockers, he's lined up most weeks, but he's not really around to commentate on. So also Tim having a strong track background. We'd expect a little bit more from you, Tim. But yeah, we're happy to see some different names on the start line, as well as some different countries. I see we got a little bit of Irish, we got some boys from the UK, and yeah, it helps us fill up these groups.
They must feel a bit intimidated with all the South African flags around them.
Yeah, I think it definitely, it's not easy boxing South Africans in any sport, whether it be in the virtual world or on the road. I see Brad Gaveras is back there. Yeah, probably somebody that today you're probably looking at a winner coming out of either a Brad, maybe Trav Steadman, or an Aidan Geary, guys that have got a quick punchy finish on them.
Brad Gaveras, he's won multiple races in our first series. We saw him taking strain a little bit last week up the climbs.
I did see in the results it was a substantial gap, which isn't the norm for him.
Maybe it was taking an easy week, and this week is going to be back on it. But the usual suspects in there: Tyron White, Travis Steadman. I've seen there as well. Brendan van Eerden as well. Who else?
I did see Callum lining up. Do we know how many other Pro Touch boys are in this peloton, or in this gruppetto?
So far, all I know is Callum. I haven't seen Kent's name up there. Javier Kruger is back in Cape Town after their training camp. I don't think he's on the start line tonight. So Callum's looks like he's solo.
Callum's flying the flag for Pro Touch.
Yep, in the team competition that won't be ideal for them. So yeah, encouraging more Pro Touch boys to get on the line.
Yeah, and if you look at the pace now. You know, these guys are going to be sitting at between 45 and 50 k's an hour for a good hour. So even though it is a flat route, sometimes those little lumps where, you know, you're going up to 2-3%, just force the guys to grab a little bit of a breather, get out of the saddle, you know, change the body shape on the bike, and it kind of slows the momentum down. When it's sitting like this, you've obviously got the drafting component, which has a massive impact, and unless you're concentrating and you are riding at 50 k's an hour at the same, and you don't reduce your watts, you'll pop out in front as you know before you can blink. So to try and get a consistent rhythm is very, very difficult, and if you're not looking at putting your nose into the wind too early in the race, you've got to concentrate quite heavily for the complete hour.
As they're taking the corner there, you can see the London Eye there in the background. So these guys are definitely in London, on the Greater London flat route. Jamie, I did some research on these power-ups. So if you've been watching week in, week out, we've been speaking about these power-ups which these guys can use. It gives them an advantage for a certain period of time. And I found this little picture. If we just head over to the power-up screen. So these are the power-ups that these guys can use. So on the left-hand side there, those are the different types of power-ups, and they can be used at any time in the race to give the riders a slight advantage over the rest. So if we look there, you get the aero power-up, which makes the riders more aerodynamic for 15 seconds. You get the draft power-up, which increases the draft effect that they're experiencing for by 50% for 30 seconds. So that's quite a fair amount of time.
Yeah, that's a long time, and that's a massive gain.
The breakaway burrito makes them undraftable for 10 seconds. So if the guys want to putting in a big attack, that's the breakaway burrito. That's quite
a lot
one.
to take in while you are racing a bicycle. You know, it's like being on a traditional in a road race and trying to decide: do you have water? Do you have a gel? Do you have some in your sandwich? Do you go back to the car? I mean, it's a lot to take in. The invisibility one I'll use out on the road. But except it's generally going the other way. So the guys put in an attack, I become invisible because they can't see me off the back.
Yeah, so I mean the invisible one can be quite pointless sometimes. So the guys will just use it to get rid of it, so they can kind of get a new power up.
Okay.
And then the lightweight power up is when their weight gets reduced, which means their power to weight ratio goes up for 15 seconds. But on today's routes, the lightweight power up won't be as valuable as we saw last week. So those are all the power-ups within the game. The riders get it along the route, or they can go into the race with one, which they picked up while riding on the platform. So that kind of gives you a good idea of what the different power-ups are.
I managed to miss. I know there was an open window where you could basically accept meetups and go and obviously ride the virtual Tour de France routes that were used in some of the series, but I managed to miss that window. But yeah, if anything, I think where Zwift probably needs to get a little bit more aggressive is maybe releasing new worlds a little bit quicker. I don't spend a hell of a lot of time on the platform, but it can become a little bit monotonous riding the same scenery night in and night out. So I don't know if that's just my personal perception, but maybe guys can give us their opinions on the Facebook chat. But yeah, I definitely, Watopia was exciting when it kicked off, and yeah, it seems to have got a little bit stale for me. So I was looking forward to riding some Tour de France routes, but missed that window. But I'm sure they'll be launched again or become available shortly.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jamie. I think the difficulty with Zwift is that they actually have to build kind of like a computer game world. I mean, whereas opposed to like a platform like Ruby or something.
Yeah,
like
where it's
Kinomap,
it's actually pure photography and videos. Yeah,
Yeah.
with this you can appreciate the fact that it's like my son plays
Fortnite.
No, he plays Fortnite as well.
Counter-Strike.
There's another one that you build stuff with blocks. Minecraft.
Okay.
Where I've watched him build virtual homes and replicas of our house and replicas of cars, and yeah, it's each little block you can understand, has an impact on what the screen looks like. So I don't think it's as easy as just slapping some stuff together, but maybe if we can send out a wish list to Zwift, is give us some fresh screens to stare at.
Another very, very strong rider I've seen there is Martin Hilleman. He is a very, very skinny rider. He's normally known for going uphill very fast, and he's from the Bluff Bros. So great to see him also on today's start line, getting involved in the virtual Aquile Tour Durban.
Yeah, it seems like let's hope that because it's an Aquile Tour Durban, it's not just the series isn't just supported because it's Durban looking after Durban. Let's hope these boys stick around. There seems to be quite a strong Durban field.
It is, and so this week is the second event out of the 6 races in the second series. So hopefully they can keep going, keep motivated, and see them week after week.
See, we've got our, how can I say, if this is the virtual world, our traditional road world champion, Stephen van Heerden, who was last year's winner of the Aquile Tour de Urban, also in the group today. So nice to see him there. Missing a lot of his Enza teammates. I don't see the Van Wyks. I don't see the Cockroach. It looks like Stephen's on his own.
No Nolan Hoffman?
No, Nolan Hoffman
We
not.
haven't seen him,
I did bump
once
into him
yet.
in the cradle on the weekend, so he's out and about on his bike, but I don't think he's much of a fan of the virtual space.
He's won the Tour Durban on a few occasions as well.
Yeah,
So
if anybody's got a back-to-back records, I think it's Nolan.
they've just passed the sprint preem there. I didn't quite see who took it. We're going to wait for the green jersey to pop up on the right-hand side. From the Bluff Bros, who's that? Stephen van Heerden got second there, but any confirmation on who got that sprint? We see their 5th place. Just need to scroll back up there. Someone from the Bluff Bros got hold of that. It could have been Martin Hilleman. Oh, there we go. Martin Hilleman from the Bluff Bros. Well done, taking today's sprint preem. There's more coming up. But as they take the corner through the streets of London, they're racing in the dark at the moment.
Yeah, that's London for you. You can get on a tube and get out the other side, and it's a completely different environment and weather pattern. It's probably one of the most difficult places in the world to live, because when it's summer, it's a beautiful place, but when it's winter, I think the lack of sun makes the British guys a little bit miserable. But yeah, a cool town to spend some time in.
The Junior National Championships is getting taken place next weekend, which is on a Saturday, the 8th of August, and they will be competing on Zwift for the national title. So guys, you must tune in for that as well. It's going to be a very exciting race. So it'll be the Junior National Championships will be taking place on this platform. There are opportunities for junior cyclists who don't have access to internet, trainers, and a facility where they can get involved. There are facilities available, so get into contact with us or with CSA, so they're trying to make it a fair playing field.
Yeah, I think obviously if there's juniors out there that haven't been exposed to the platform and don't have the technology, it is something difficult to just rock up on the day and obviously get involved with. But get in touch with Support SA Talent. There's enough support structures throughout South African cycling that your guys in your local area can provide opportunities for you to rock up and ride those trainers, get used to them, and see if it's something you want to get involved in. I know the under 23s and elites, we obviously held that championship in Mpumalanga in February. Then the idea was to have the juniors and the under 17s in June. That got pushed out as a result of COVID, and obviously subsequently it's possible that the opportunity wouldn't exist to do it on the road, so it's been converted to a virtual platform, which is obviously the Zwift creation that's allowing these guys to compete. It's actually strange because you probably find it lends more opportunity for more of a track style rider to win SA champs rather than a traditional endurance athlete. So it'll be an interesting race. I think it is slightly longer than a traditional Zwift race, so it'll be a big effort, but by no means is it going to be an easy ride.
I'm sure we're going to see the usual suspects at the top of the leaderboard. The guys like Travis Steadman, Dylan Geary. So I mean, those are the juniors who are week in, week out competing against the pros. So hopefully we can see some challenges. Dion as well. So yeah. And
I think it's probably the easiest way to allow all the provinces to race as well. We don't have the ability to currently travel across border, so it allows guys all over South Africa with minimum expense to line up at a national race, and it's something different to pull on the jersey and say you won it during lockdown. It'll be one that you'll definitely remember. Who was the junior champion last year, just out of curiosity?
Junior champion, it's a good question. I remember watching it live. Tiano da Silva.
I
Where's
think
that cat?
Pro Touch have actually held on to that. I think it was Jason. Was kind of if you looked at the strategy, there was always a kind of a second year junior, and then you had a first year junior fetching bottles and playing slave. So it was kind of Jason and Ricardo that went back to back. Jason won it. He then passed it on the following year to Ricardo, and Tiano looked after him. Tiano then won it and had Dion looking after him. So I'm sure Dion's chomping at the bit that it's his opportunity to sail into the coattails. But yeah, I think he's got some strong competition coming his way from the boys from Durban. And in saying that, you've got all the Kinetic boys down in Cape Town as well. So yeah, I think it'll be healthy and a good battle.
I think the Kinetic boys have a good chance. They've been very, very strong on this platform. So yeah, Tiano da Silva, where is he these days?
He obviously got opportunities at the UCI Academy. I think with JP van Zyl, so went across to do some riding there. Then came back here. We saw him at the beginning of the year at Gauteng Champs. He was in the mix there. And then obviously COVID having the impact that it has on everybody's lives in some way or the other has kind of stunted that. So I think he might be around. I did see a whole lot of the margin boys, Benny and Geary's Aidan Geary in the cradle on Saturday. So the guys are around. I haven't physically seen Tiano in a bit, so I'm not sure.
Isabel Moorman there saying that Warren Moorman is not on the start line today due to him being sick. That's unfortunate. The rider who was third last week in the junior category is unfortunately not on the start line. It's that time of time of the year where the seasonal flu is coming around, and if you are putting in some hard effort, the immunity drops, your immune system drops, and you get a bit sick. So,
and I think
look after
also,
yourself.
to be fair, everybody that is sick, there's this grey cloud hanging over you that you're no longer allowed to just have a runny nose. It's now there's the threat of COVID and everything else. So yeah, I think if ever there's been an opportunity to take your health seriously, it's now. I see Peter Avenant in the group rocking a fancy disc wheel with some nice decals on it.
That takes some effort to get those wheels. So it takes your sweat drops that you need to earn and then spend, and also you got to get onto a certain level of Zwift to be able to get access to those wheels. So
yeah, and I think there's some cool stuff. I mean, cool the avatars. You can dress them up nicely. I see there's a guy there in a set of yellow Mavic shoes. So there's obviously quite a range of different bits and pieces that you can dress the guys up. There's some shocking hairstyles, but it's nice to see guys standing out in different types of kit.
We're heading over to the ladies' race quickly. This is Jo van der Winkel's screen. She's really getting involved in the Zwift racing. She takes part every week in the Tuesday team time trial, which is getting put on by the Premier League. And she's every single week she's been involved in the Sport SA Talent virtual road cycling series. So yeah, she is. She's the winner of our very first series. She was out sprinted last week to come home to second. But it's great to see a nice bunch of ladies. It's in the D group, which is the ladies batch. We have 64 riders.
Yeah, that's a healthy category. That's a proper race.
Not all South Africans, but it's great to be able for these ladies to race against other riders.
Yeah, it's just, I think having it's a motivational factor as well. Is just having lots of bikes around you. It allows you to up your game. I think riding with three people can become a little bit mind-numbing. So
myself and Dylan calculated with Joe's power to weight ratio number, should be able to stick in the men's A cut for a while.
Yeah, it would actually be interesting to take, to create a bit of a race and kind of group the guys according to their power, as opposed to, their license and possibly their gender. That'd be very interesting.
Francis Janssen van Rensburg on the start line this week as well. I saw Courtney Webb there as well. I also saw Tiffany Keep's name pop up. So
yeah, that's probably
a handful of ladies getting involved.
That's my favourite for today. In a flat punchier race.
You're going with Tiffany, yeah?
Going with Tiffany.
Guys, get your predictions in. Let us know who you think is going to win event number 2 in the second series of the virtual Sport SA Talent Virtual Racing Series and the Kwele Tour Durban event number 2. Get your comments in.
Message in from Noel Geary, dad of Aiden and Dylan. Tiano has actually gone back to the UCI. So yeah, he's obviously made his way back there, and I think there's probably easier places to be in the world at the moment that do allow for a little bit more structured riding. So yeah, I think the guys have used the opportunity to get out and stay out. I see our 2019 under-23 national champion Mark Pritson, who made his way over just before lockdown started, racing for NTT Conti. He actually eventually got his first race in last weekend, managed to finish 7th and the first rider out of the NTT stable. So he's starting to see a little bit of racing, and I think you're starting to see Strade Bianca's coming up around the corner. I see Bourgeois is on at the moment. So there's some normality returning to the rest of the world. We like to trend and podium last. So I think we'll be closer to the end of the year that we'll start seeing some normality in our road season.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that the European races are getting underway, back on the road. Unfortunately, we don't have any kind of wording as to when we can continue with the races. That there was an article that went out that said pro racing could continue, but I don't know how that's materialized. And also, are there sponsors that are going to want to actually put on events?
Yeah, I think already the problem that you've got in South Africa is our pro peloton is, it's probably locally maybe 50 riders, and then you start bringing the coastal guys into it, maybe another 25, 30 guys. So there just isn't the numbers, and obviously being one-day races, you're going to get very few guys other than the Stedmans who travel up and down the coastline every weekend to race their bicycle. The other guys would, they'd head pick some specific classics throughout the year that they'd come up to, but I think it's very difficult to put on a race where you've maybe only got 50 or 60 riders taking part, and obviously needing to respect social distancing and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, I think it's a very difficult time.
The not Tour Durban, the Amashova still say that they're going ahead with their event. It hasn't been cancelled, and also I saw the entry is open for
Sun City.
For Sun City as well. So they're still going
limiting
ahead.
it to 1,000 entries.
So there's some opportunity.
First come, first serve basis. Again, I don't, that's just my opinion. I don't know how you can see that far down the line, but I suppose you can't wait until the 99th hour to start applying your mind around putting these events on. You've kind of got to have the discussions and kind of gear up for it, and rather be in a position where you need to pull the handbrake than you don't have a car that's on the start line. So respect to the race organisers who are trying to keep this industry going.
Andres Negrini suggesting that Courtney Webb is going to be the winner in the ladies' race today. Thanks for getting that comment in.
Why is Andres Negrini talking nonsense on Facebook and not lined up on his bicycle?
Hey, maybe he can be on Facebook and race at the same time.
Is he not sitting fourth in the series? Is he lined up today?
Andres, let us know why you're not on the start line today, bud.
Maybe he is on the start line. If he is, he's obviously not riding hard enough. If he's got time to sit and send messages on Facebook.
We're watching Travis Stedman's screen there. We see him putting in a big attack. His power to weight number.
This is that, I think they call it Box Hill miles. Coming out of the back of London, yeah. They've just come down through the train station, I call it, and it's got that minus 15 descent. My son's just started playing on Zwift once a week, and it's his favourite downhill because he gets to minus 15. That's at 13 years old. That's how you gauge whether you're a good rider or not. If you can stay on the downhills at minus 15. He forgets that eventually it turns around and you've got to go back up that plus 15. So, this is a section of Box Hill where it's got a little bit of rollers, and then they call it, sometimes it's called the Surrey Hills, and it's on the back end of London. And I think the first race, strange enough, of the previous series, we did either the first or second race, and it actually finished on what they called, it had some other name for it, but it was actually a flavour of Box Hill, and it's a difficult climb. It's rolling, and the gradient changes quite often, so it's not something you can get into a decent rhythm.
They call this little kicker, actually on this map, it's called the Mall Rev. So it could be part of Box Hill, but it was Fox Hill and then Box Hill, but the second one was Box Hill last week. But it's called the Mall Rev. It's only 200 meters long, but it goes up to about 10%. Which I'm just confirming on the map. So it's good to know it's not that long, but if someone's trying to put in a big attack, it's going to definitely put the sting in the legs.
Yeah, it's those lengthy false flats at like 1%, and then it actually jumps up to 4 or 5. Then it goes back to the 1, and it actually feels like you're going downhill in relation. But it's very inconsistent, and it does the damage.
This your hometown?
No, this is very, very, very far from it. This is the industrial part of the United Kingdom, where I'm from. I'm from the countryside.
From the countryside,
I'm from the countryside. So, to give you an idea, if you've heard of a place called Leeds.
I know the soccer team.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's exactly.
Leeds United.
Just promoted after 16 long years in outside of the English Premiership. So Leeds just got promoted back to Premier League football for the first time in a long time. So
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've had a good run in football. I got my hometown and my favourite club, both one earning promotion and one obviously winning the championship. So it's been a good. Other than obviously the way we've had to enjoy football during lockdown, it's been a good season for me in football in a couple of different aspects.
We saw what's his name? Jeez, Tyron White. Sorry, I went blank there for a bit. He put in quite a big attack up that little drag. We saw a few guys cross over to him. It looks like he split the bunch up here slightly.
Yeah,
There's
it seems
a few
like
guys
it's
going
whittled
off the back.
down, and you can see the pockets of guys at the back. They're going to have to do a little bit of work to get back on.
But all the usual suspects still up there. Brad Gaveris up there. We have Martin Hillerman still up there. He won the sprint. Dino van Heerden also up there. Geez, if all the KZN guys could just group together and help each other out, I think they could pull off a podium in first, second, and third today.
Yeah, it's definitely splitting up. But again, it's the similar component of names that you'd expect to be there. We're 21, almost 22 kilometers into the race.
Jonathan Bauer also on the start line this week from Kinetic.
Yeah.
Great to see the Kinetic boys getting back involved. We didn't see many of them last week, but it's good to see them back on the start line.
This is, I think we go back into the what I call the train station. I'm not actually sure if it's a tube station or a train station. And then you actually go up this plus 15 gradient.
Oh, wow.
And it is, there's not many ways to attack it. You can either go in with more of a cadence, but that drops down quite quickly, or you literally have to ride at about 800 watts to get over it in a healthy gear. It's
smart trainers really go very tight on that little section.
Yeah. If you're sitting with something that's just using a speed sensor, you probably stand a little bit better. You wouldn't say you stand a better chance. You're going to get over it a little bit more comfort, but it quickly tightens up on you, and you'll see. I mean, we're sitting at 44 k's an hour now. Let's see, I think you sweep right, you go left, and then you go smack bang up this wall. So let's see what pace the guys go over the top at. Where it's 40 k's an hour.
Oh, there we go. Look at that, 15%.
I mean, that's the option, is you whack it at 13 watts a kilo and get it over with. Or you do it like I do. You drop down into your 28 and you give yourself a breather.
Tyron White trying to put in a little attack there.
It'll stretch, because if you actually... If you whack it up there and create a bit of a gap and you drive it over the top, guys, those legs are going to be sore, and you're going to be looking to get your breath back. I mean, if you look at Travis Steadman, he's just under 180 beats a minute on heart rate. So there's some serious efforts going in.
Could that be the more rev section that I spoke about earlier? Was that about 200 meters or not really?
No, that's not 200 meters.
Okay.
It's
so there's another section, because they're coming up to the end of the first lap. Well, I think they've just completed a lap. 23:40. Yes, they're coming up to the
I think
end
you
of the
actually
first
you go up here. It either goes left or right. I know that's a little bit vague. You can only go that way, one or the other, and then it almost flattens out as if you're riding kind of on the Prudential Ride London route, and then you get almost a virtual sprint line, and then you'll see a virtual finish line, and then the lap would start again.
We have a Zimbabwean rider in the mix there. He's doing pretty well. Do you notice who he is?
I saw the flag, and I didn't want to show my lack of geography ability. I wasn't sure. I know that it's an African flag, but I wasn't sure where. So
definitely from
nice
Zim.
to see. Nice to see one of the Zim boys.
Yeah, a little bit of an African touch. We'd love to see some of the Rwandian riders get involved.
Sure, yeah, strong. A lot of good talent that comes out of Rwanda. A lot of strong talent that comes out of Eritrea. We as a continent, we should be doing a lot better in cycling on the world stage. There are definitely enough talented riders. I think just maybe a lack of funding and a lack of infrastructure to hold these guys' hands. Nurture that talent.
100%. A massive thank you to Tour Durban and their sponsors. If we just bring them up again, Aquele, the main sponsor of Tour Durban, a massive thank you to them. Cornubia Mall also getting involved, Cycle Lab, the Sharks, and Durban itself, the warmest place to be, as always. Also, the Domino Foundation. So part of the donation fee goes to the Domino Foundation. So the 200 Rand donation helps out the Domino Foundation as well as the Full Liggett Foundation. So Jamie, you're saying there, lack of opportunity, lack of funding. The Full Liggett Foundation is set up to help fund riders to race on the international stage. So if you guys are wanting to make a donation and make a difference, here's the QR code. So quickly get your cell phones out. We'll leave it up there for the next couple of seconds, and you can get your donations in. As always, proudly presented by Trade Route Active. Massive thank you to Brett and his team for their commitment week in, week out to being able to get these races on the go. Andres Negrini, he says he unfortunately can't. Well, he's not racing today because he'll be back next week. No reason why.
I actually only realized, obviously, Trade Route Active has only become kind of a brand that I've been conscious of as a result of the series, Miles, where I went into some old photographs. I was looking for some old content for somebody, and I was in the Tour de Windhoek photos, and you actually see Travis Stedman standing on the podium after one of the stages with a Trade Route Active jersey on.
Yes.
It looks like these boys have obviously have sent or have been instrumental in putting a team together to go to a local tour as well.
On that note of the jersey, if we look there, so this is
that's the one.
So that's what the jersey looks like, and we ran a promo in the first series where the highest donator would actually get a signed jersey, the Trade Route Active signed jersey by Phil Liggett. So I'm not sure who won that jersey. I will confirm that for you. But that's the Trade Route Active jersey.
Nice piece of bike racing history.
Yeah, if you could frame that and stick it up above your bar counter, that would really can go a long way in a couple of years' time.
And somebody, as much as he's a Brit, he's kind of an adopted South African. He's got residency in the UK. He's got a residency, I think, in Cape Town. He's got a residency out in the Kruger Park or on the border of the Kruger Park. He's a massive ambassador for the Save Rhino Foundation with Chris Froome as well. He's definitely fallen in love, as many Brits do, with the wildlife and the culture of South Africa, and spends a vast amount of time here.
I was watching the Lance Armstrong ESPN 30-for-30 documentary. It actually aired on Mnet last week, Saturday. I know myself and you have watched it as well, Jamie.
Yeah,
but
brilliant.
It's a very good series. I really enjoyed it. But what wowed me was when Lance Armstrong was winning the World Championships. In the early 90s. Phil Liggett was commentating. And I put that into perspective of, he's still
how long ago it was.
And how long ago it was. And, I wasn't even born yet. And Phil was commentating on cycling.
Yeah.
And
was a good bike racer prior to talking about bike racing. He was a good bike handler. Him and Paul Sherwin probably had a more illustrious career. But, two more interesting guys, to probably sit down and talk bicycles to, I don't think you can find. If you haven't seen that Lance Armstrong documentary, I know he's a very controversial figure. It's very, very good. I know a lot of people have seen pockets of, the Tyler Hamilton story, and you saw Lance's Oprah interview and everything else. And it's just, it touches more on his life before, obviously, moving to Europe and starting, the doping scene, or getting involved in the doping scene. And actually, you were on about the World Championships that he won. I remember watching that race live on TV. It was in Oslo, Norway, and I think Dougie Ryder was on the start line for South Africa.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was in the pouring rain, and he rode away from from Miguel Indurain and won that race on his own. Yeah. So.
But what amazed me was actually seeing how much of an impact the Livestrong Foundation had towards making a difference to cancer. So a legend in the sport. The second episode of that documentary is coming on TV this week, Saturday. But back to Phil Liggett. He's such a legend in the sport, and it's fantastic that he can be one of our brand ambassadors for Support SA Talent. So a massive thank you to Phil for getting involved in South African cycling. What's happening in the race here? 28 k's into the race, they hauling at 50 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
they're not going
moving
slow.
Along. Yeah,
nothing really happening. A few attacks going off the front, but no kind of breakaway forming just yet.
No, I think if you're going to have to go miles, it'll probably realistically it might string out a little bit more, and you're going to get pockets of guys with sore legs that'll be popping off the back. But on that climb where we saw Tyron and Travis stretch their legs, that's probably the opportunity that if you're going to sting it, is to go there and carry on driving it, kind of till you get off the circuit. Then I think it's a 7k lead in, as we spoke about at the start, which takes you back into the finish.
Yep. Thank you to Joe Silva for commenting. She's a proud Brent Yelland supporter. Is that how you pronounce her surname?
Yeah, I think so.
Brent Yelland. So thank you to her for commentating. Wishing him a very good ride. Greg Steadman, as always, thank you for commenting. Good evening. Good evening. Support SA Talent just confirming there that Trade Red Active has been involved with Support SA Talent and the Full Legged Foundation for 18 months now. So it's been going for a while. From the kind of the early on stages, Trade Red Active being involved. So they it's growing, it's getting bigger, and thanks to Brett. Taking the corner off, going 45k an hour.
Yeah, this is that section where I said it almost looks like the Prudential Ride London sections, where it's kind of a different look of asphalt and tar, and you're kind of in the CBD of London.
Doesn't this road head up towards there it is, Buckingham Palace. Yeah, you just see it in the background there.
Yeah, that's it. So you're in and around it, and around Hyde Park, and I know some strange reason when my trainer disconnects on Zwift, I get this angry squirrel. I don't know if you've seen that comes and
I've seen it.
Barks at you on the screen. Having spent enough time in London, there's some decent parks in and around where these guys are now, where you can literally just sit and have a cold drink and something to eat, and you'll be harassed by gangs of squirrels. So maybe that's why he keeps popping up. But if you look at this group, it's starting to dwindle down.
It is.
And I think this is well, I know it sounds stupid, but a winner definitely coming from this group. But the riders are going to get stretched.
Jamie, a quick question. So you say your trainer disconnects. I was doing a little bit of a survey during the week where I was asking riders who race quite often on Zwift, have you ever pulled your trainer out the wall and say that and have said that you've had a disconnection problem?
No,
you haven't done that. Okay.
I haven't, because the problem I've got is if I get off the bike to go and pull it out the wall, I'm not getting back on it.
Yeah. No, well, that's the point.
But I have had moments where, like silly things, you'll be, it just loses the tension. So you'll be going up a climb and it's 5%, and you're sitting in a big blade, halfway down the cassette, and it's like there's no ways I'm riding this kind of gear, and it just seems to lose the tension. So I've had those issues where you've then got to jump off, unplug it, plug it back in, and if that doesn't work, you've got to kind of disconnect, and then you've got to go and refine the riders. So it has its moments. Sometimes you can blame the trainer, sometimes you can blame the ant device. There's a lot of little bits and pieces that are responsible for obviously making sure you have a good quality Zwift experience. I know Ashley Moorman-Passio had an incident, I think in the virtual Tour de France, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, where she was doing very well, and actually the trainer disconnected, and that was kind of the end of her race. So so you've got to, the youngsters that are looking at having a go, for a national title, make sure your infrastructure is correct. If it's not, take that trainer and go to somebody's house and race there. If you respect the social distancing aspect of it, if you've got 2-3 friends, set your trainers up together in the same house with space between you, and it gives you a little bit of a motivation to see somebody that you chase in the real world, bleeding next to you as well. But don't wing it and expect Zwift just to behave itself. You got to contend with Zwift, ant devices, software updates, internet connections, Wi-Fi routers. Your sister or your wife down the passage chiming into the bandwidth, watching some cooking
TikTok,
rubbish or TikTok. So there's a lot of people fighting in the house for the same space. So make sure you give yourself the best possible coverage when you do line up.
We have confirmation of the winners of the Full Legged signed jersey, Full Legged Trade Red Active signed jersey. It was Alexia Graham and Josh Diesel. They donated more than 1,000 rand into the Four-Legged Foundation.
Well done, and thank you for the donation.
That's a very nice prize, and I think it has a lot more value than your donation. So thank you for donating, and that's a great win.
Yeah, that's a cool memento to have. I'm somebody that's collected a lot of sports memento over the years, anything from signed caps to gloves to all sorts of bits and pieces, and I don't have a full-legged jersey in my collection. So well done. I see Peter Avenant's
he's putting down the hurt.
Is that enough for these youngsters?
He's trying to this is the second time I've seen him attack and actually try to get away. He was pulled back quite quickly the first time, but I think he's not waiting.
It is difficult, I think, to stay away, and it's purely because the traditional momentum of a lot more riders. You've got pockets of guys doing little 2-3 second efforts, and you've got the drafting facility, which, as silly as it sounds, it does make a difference. It's actually more difficult to stay behind somebody than actually to come around them. So you've got to have big wheels. You've got to have big legs, and I think Peter Avenant's disc might start feeling a little bit heavy when you're off the front on your own.
There were rules in the first series. I need to confirm if those rules are still in place, but I don't think you're allowed to use a disc wheel. I don't know what the disclaimer is for event number 2, but still definitely no Tron bikes or time trial bikes. I'm not sure about the disc wheel. Maybe we can get Kent, if he's watching, to confirm those rules for us. He was the guy that helped put the rules together.
Yeah, I don't think it should be a rule. That's my personal opinion. I know the rules are there for a reason, but I think you should, if you spend enough time on the platform and you've earned all the little bits and pieces, you should be able to use them. Yeah,
why not? I agree. Take some big effort and time to be able to unlock these different levels, and also to spend your sweat drops, which you earn the more you ride.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to build them up. I burnt mine recently and finally got myself a frame that doesn't look like it's made out of washing line. And it's quite strange how quickly your allocation drops down. So you've either got to spend a lot of time on the platform, or you've got to be quite clever in what you buy.
Correct. Those different bikes, the wheels you unlock, the bikes you unlock, all contribute to being a little bit faster on the game. So Zwift is essentially a game, and different kits, different helmets, different socks and shoes, bikes and wheels, they contribute to being it's almost like those marginal gains which these guys can buy and
Has
kind
Tyron
of
White did he have a triathlon background?
Mountain biking background.
So he's got an avatar that has no socks. I don't know if it's a Durban thing. Maybe it's a KZN thing. Tyron, is this maybe
surfer?
Yeah, maybe he's got the surf look, or a little bit trying something different. I suppose he needs to change it up every week. He can't just be on the podium with the same outfit.
Definitely. I think going into the next couple of events, we want the series leader to wear a yellow jersey. I think that would be quite a good idea. So we'll make sure that the leader of the series wearing a yellow jersey. So like Joe on the last event of series number 1, she wore a yellow jersey, so we could clearly see she was going to take home the win. Absolute Motion getting involved in the comments. Thank you, guys. Go Villy, Brennan and Brad, with a lot of smiley faces with pink star eyes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Get involved in the comments. It's always nice for us to be able to engage.
One of the shirts that's in here, Miles. It's almost like a mustard. You can see it moving through the back of the peloton now with a big B on the back of it.
Yeah, I see it.
It almost reminds me as a kid going to the day-night cricket games at Wanderers. We never managed to get the day component because we were always at school, and that was kind of the high school outing, was to get somebody's poor parent to drive us to Wanderers. And you'd sit and watch kind of the second innings of a day-night cricket game, and it was similar shirts to those that were sponsored by Benson and Hedges. Just something silly that comes to mind.
And you do a fair amount of underage drinking?
No,
or not? Not really, eh?
I was
no beers,
I had one of those passages through life where the only thing I was interested in doing was racing a bicycle, which, yeah, I found it. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of in the mid '90s, so yeah, the nightclub scene was quite popular, and I couldn't believe that. We had there used to be a prominent South African pro that I'm still close to, Neil MacDonald. And he had an older brother, and we'd kind of be in bed early because we were riding the next day, and we used to think, wow, I can't believe this guy's going out at 10 o'clock at night to go and start clubbing. Yeah, and I think probably one of the best things about cycling is it keeps you away from all the rubbish that you eventually do find beer and cigarettes at a later stage. But yeah, I think as a platform for a kid to grow up on, if you've got a family that are into it, there's probably no better sport on the planet.
Yeah, definitely. And it stays with you forever. I always say, like, for me, I see cycling as a virus. It's in your blood. It's there forever, and you're always going to love cycling and try and be involved as much as you can.
Definitely. I mean, I almost say, I've said it to a few people where, I didn't have unfinished business, but I stopped racing kind of very young, and I realized it was a bloody hard sport, and being able to bang bars with guys locally in South Africa versus the caliber of the guys overseas, specifically in those eras that Lance talks about in his documentaries, the kind of the mid and late 90s, a pale-faced South African arriving in those races with a water bottle full of iced tea. You needed to be a very, very strong rider and have a very strong head on your shoulders. So, yeah, there's very few guys from that era that managed to pursue it. You've got those very, very talented riders, the Rob Hunters and guys like that came out of that age category and made a massive name for themselves in the sport. But yeah, I was a little bit too soft, and I think finding the passion through being exposed to my own team, and maybe being forced into doing nothing else. And Sunday last weekend, so yeah, it is a passion that never really goes away. The candle might flicker in the distance, but yeah, it's something that will be with you forever. And yeah, it's one of the good drugs to be exposed to. It's an expensive problem.
Bikes are not getting cheaper.
No, fortunately my son's not really into it. He does the Zwift thing because he likes to kind of burn his own sweat drops on the patio, and cycling is not really his thing. But yeah, guys that are exposed to it, and it's not a cheap passion. I see Specialized launched their new tarmac yesterday, starting at 200,000 rand.
Wow!
So
that's insane.
Yeah, it's just getting out of hand. It's becoming like pro footballers' salaries, where these guys are earning 350,000 euros a week. At what stage is there going to be a ceiling on what technology you can pump into a bicycle, and you still have to pedal the thing? I mean, I've seen some guys on some absolute rubbish bikes and literally destroy guys that have got I call checkbook races. So
100%.
You still have to pedal the bike, but it is nice if you have the disposable income to spend it on technology, and to chop and change your bikes as often as the industry allows for it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, if you can, so it's kind of like those top end bikes. It's pretty much what the professionals used to race in the Tour de France. But like you say, I've experienced it myself. I've ridden on the latest, greatest, best equipment, and I've done a race in Africa, Tour of Rwanda, Tour of Morocco, and the rider next to me is riding 10-speed 105 components on an aluminium frame, and he's riding away from me. So it puts it into perspective. You still have to pedal the bike, you still have to train, and yeah, it's a nice bike is always good, but if you have a passion and love and wanting to achieve, that's what kind of drives you to train harder. And Peter Avenant.
No, he's had enough of these youngsters. He's buggering off. He's actually talking rubbish. I mean, he's strange enough. His cadence, you can see, is grinding a monster gear. I mean, he's sitting at 65 RPM, which is not high, and his heart rate's only at 160. So I think he's got a lot of gas in the tank.
He's putting in a big effort.
He's out to 10 seconds. Once you've created that gap, I think that's the hardest part. Trying to hold it is probably allowed to get now into a decent rhythm. You can see he's dropping down every now and again to kind of the late 300s and then, the late 200s.
But he's in time trial mode. It took him about 5 or 6 attacks to be able to eventually get away.
Yeah.
But he was yo-yoing. But 10 seconds,
And it's
this
coming
is
down now.
dangerous.
So he was sitting at 350 watts now, hovering, between the low and the high 200s. So they
Travis
put about
Steadman there.
3 seconds back on him. So I don't know if he was just testing the legs and saying, well, let's see if anybody comes with me. Making a decision possibly that it's a little bit difficult with still 17 k's to go to try and stay away.
Yeah, it's going to be a big TT effort.
So yeah, that gap coming down quite quickly.
Down in 4 seconds. Gary Doyle putting a comment up there. There's someone I haven't seen in years. Great to see you watching. Thanks for the support, Gary. It would be great to see you getting involved as well. I know you're another strong rider who likes to put in a few attacks on the group ride. So thanks for the comment and getting involved. We got some stats here for the amount of international riders who are on the start line today. So from the UK, there's 6 riders from the UK. From the USA, 7 riders. France, 4. Portugal, 4. Germany, 5. Belgium, 3. So a lot of international competition. Sticking it to the South African boys.
And listen, sticking it's probably not the right statement. I think there's only the American left, or one American, and everybody else is out the back.
And the Zimbabwean. One Zimbabwean as well.
The Zimbabwean, international rider of Zimbabwe.
There's a Rwandan, a Malawian, a Scottish, and a rider from Chile as well. So thank you to the Sporty SA Italian Facebook page for giving us that information. That's good to know. So yeah, some international competition, but like you say, they're not anywhere to be seen other than the American and the Zimbabwean.
Yeah. There's this, you kind of pop over this bridge, and then we start to duck down a little bit. Then you've got a long flat section again, and you kind of go on the side of the canal, and then you've got this horrible bump up coming again. Can we get a view from the back of this group, Miles?
Yeah.
And then maybe here you go
there
down the
down.
-15%.
Yeah, they're going to go up that little kick here where there's, I think,
what I'd consider Box Hill, but I think that's last time we kind of Tyron and Travis stretched the legs and try to see who's going with.
I think if Peter Avenant just saved his effort for this little kick, he could have maybe got away, but he's back in the group. 53 minutes into the race tonight, 42 k's, so that we're in the final 10 kilometers. It was, let's go have a look and see what Ken put up there. I think it was 53 k's, right? 54.
54, correct.
54k total, so not yet in the 10k to go mark, but within 12 k's of the finish line. We see Stephen van Heerden in there still, Dino van Heerden. Who else?
I think the guys there that possibly don't have the climbing legs or starting to move to the front of the group. I know there's a little bit of a sting that's coming their way. It's short, but it's going to hurt. You've been on the bike at 45, 50 k's an hour now for an hour. It's going to hurt anybody, and here we are up to 7%. So the gradient changes quite quickly.
Oh, there we go. You can see a few guys dropping off the back. If you go from the front view, you can see a few riders taking strain. Who's putting in the orange watts per kilo there, which means they're whacking it over 8 watts per kilo. Jonathan Bauer.
Stephen van Heerden trying to stay in contact.
Stephen van Heerden he can pack out some watts in a sprint, so he'll be able to hold himself in the sprint. But
yeah, I think him and he's got a couple of different titles, African Conti titles and African track titles. So somebody that's he's dangerous. We made the mistake of going to the finish line with him in the traditional Tour de Urban last year against some better judgment, and he dished out the hiding that everybody said he would. So, very quick finisher. And hell of a lacquer oak.
Of course.
Yeah, he's a top guy. He gives back to a lot of the youngsters on the track, and there's a mentorship program that kind of him and Josh van Wyk and Nolan and David go through, and they've helped build a lot of youngsters on the track that are now able to apply those ideas and those skills on the road, and are quick finishers on most weekends in the traditional space.
It's also for the youngsters coming through. I mean, if you establish yourself on the track and you can get that kind of fast twitch muscle developed early on, it definitely has a big advantage when it comes to being able to win races on the South African.
It's important as well, Miles, from a bike handling point of view. You know, I think there's a lot of dads out there that might go out and buy a bicycle, and you just take your youngster out into the cradle, and you know, he's learning to ride, but he's not actually learning how to handle a bicycle. Where, you know, if you look at guys in South Africa that have got big backgrounds, you know, Malcolm Lange knew how to handle a bicycle, wasn't the biggest rider. You know, I remember him banging bars as a kid with Wille Engelbrecht and Francie Kruger and guys that were a lot bigger than him. But I just think coming off a track background, you're a little bit more confident in bumping with guys, and you know, you're not necessarily going to end up on the floor as quick as a guy that's from a traditional road space. And I mean, even if you look at the quick finishes in the pro peloton, the guys understand who you can ride around and who you can be safe near. You know, and it's they respect each other's space, and as close as they are, it's very seldom very dangerous. So I think the track space allows you to learn how to ride a bike, and learn, you know, you develop something in a sprint that you're not probably going to develop properly on the road. And once you've got it, you're definitely a threat at the end of any race.
Jamie, there's a bunch stretching out now in one very long line. If we have a look, let's have a look from a front view. I think it's just come back together, but it was in one long line for a moment there, which means the guys are trying to get away from. So the non-sprinters are trying to get away from the usual suspects, but it hasn't seemed to work.
No, I think this is the picture to the finish. Can we go have a look at the girls or the ladies?
Yes, let's head over. Before we come and watch the finish of the men's race, let's head over to Joe.
Let's go see how we're doing.
So this is the ladies' race. We're watching Joe van der Winkel's screen. I always go to her profile because her name's easy to type in.
To know you're there,
yeah. Tiffany Kiep still in there. Francis Janssen van Rensburg still in there as well. Courtney Webb in there as well. So this is a small group of ladies that have started to form at the front of the race, and I think we're in for a good finish. Yeah, it's not the usual ones and twos we see. I think we're going to actually see a proper sprint finish in today's race.
Yeah, it's
we got a few internationals in there as well.
It's a nice sized group coming to the finish, so a little bit of representation again from. I think there might be some of the C batch in there.
Yeah, looks like they've caught up. So the ladies' batch is D batch. So how the batching works is the A batch goes off at 6 o'clock, and then in 1 minute intervals the B batch, C batch, and D batch go off. And the D batch is the ladies' only group. So they went off at 3 minutes past 6, and they've caught up to some of the C batch riders.
Okay, so you've probably got 5 ladies in there that can contest the finish for the ladies' race, and then they've got some drips and drabs off the back of the C bunch that's in that same category. Or
there
in
we
that
go.
same bunch.
So this is Courtney Webb. She won the sprint, so she's got the green jersey there. So if you look on the right hand side of the screen there, you can see the kind of C's and the D's. You can see all the ladies are the kind of yellow D batch, so don't get confused with the few C batch riders that are in there. But see, Courtney's in 5th spot. Let's see if there's a few ladies up the road. Yeah, we see a rider. This is Ian Niekland, South African cyclist. So they've actually got a gap on the riders that we've just been watching.
Sure.
Is she involved? There's another lady rider on her own up the road. And then another one further up, 28 seconds. So if you look at that, no. So they've actually been lapped.
Oh, I was looking at the distance that's been
also
covered,
and their position as well. So they've actually been lapped. So I'm trying to look for the lady who's the first out of the 64 riders. Sometimes can get a bit confusing. It's just to also confirm if the lady in first place is part of our series. So this is Tiffany Kiep. She's 11th overall. I'm trying to go up the ranks here. Just hang with us. We're looking for the first lady.
The first lady.
So if you look there,
the first lady of South African side.
Yeah. Sometimes it can get a bit messy, as you can see. But if you look at there on the right hand side, I'm circling it with the mouse there.
Joe van der Winkel probably carries that title quite well, the first lady of South African cycling.
Oh, it's great to see the international riders getting involved as well. So they've entered the Support SA Talent virtual road cycling series on Zwift, and when you enter, you can obviously read up what the race is all about, what it supports. So for them to actually enter the race and get involved and be part of this event is great. The Quelle Tour Durban 2020 unfortunately can't race out on the road, so this is the next best option.
One good thing, if anything, that came out of this is I learned how to pronounce Aquile. I think about what rubbish was coming out of my mouth for the last 5 years every time I had one of their waters. It's horrific. But yeah, Aquile is the correct pronunciation, and not Aquila and everything else that I used to reference. Nice to see them have kind of stuck with their race, and as an ambassador and a kind of the brand behind Tour de Urban for quite some time now, that they've stuck to their knitting and are still backing the guys, even though the traditional exposure isn't there. They obviously see the benefit in the race, as does everybody that's lined up, and we'll get back to normal, and Aquile will get their pound of flesh when it comes to advertising exposure, hopefully in 2021.
Madison Man backing Tiffany there, same as you, Jamie. I'm going with let's go with I'm going with Courtney Webb for today's win. Let us know in the comment section who you're backing for the ladies' win today, as well as the men's A batch.
But the ladies into this negative 15. It must be it's actually a lack of feeling, because your trainer literally runs away from you on the cadence, but it ends quite quickly. It's over.
But Jamie, the most, especially with the Tour Durban, obviously it's sponsored by Aquile. There's nothing better than an iced cold lemon flavored water at the end of the Tour Durban. I look forward to it every year. The rest of the events on the calendar don't have that flavored water, which is unfortunate, but it's something I look forward to after a very long 105 Ks out on the streets of Durban. Let's head over back to the men's race. This is Travis Steedman's screen that we're watching. He's still right up there. He's staying near the front, as he should be, heading into the final few kilometers. They just over 4 kilometers to go before they hit the finish. So this is a very familiar sight to what we saw last week with the run into the finish.
Yeah, and I think familiar names that are going to be making the run into the finish. So
familiar names, but a few additions as well. We see there Luke Chambers, who finished 7th overall in last week's race, 7th on the general classification. If he could put in a good podium spot there, that'll definitely help his overall series ranking. But I'm going with Brad Gaveris.
Yeah, I think it's a
bit boring, but
it is boring. But it's probably a safe bet. He's probably got the strongest kick out of this group. It's probably slightly longer today than a traditional Zwift race. So maybe Brad's legs will be a little bit tired, but he is the current South African Kermis and Criterium champion. So if you look at that traditional race, it's generally around an hour. So the guys have got less than 4Ks to go. They're on their run into the finish, and I think we're in for a group gallop, and maybe somebody that's rolling the dice and playing their power ups, Miles, at the right time could also impact it.
100%. A breakaway burrito or a little a drafting power up would definitely help. It's I mean, if you saw the NTT World Tour team racing the virtual Tour de France, you can see they had director sportifs and their team managers activating the power ups at the exact right time. So if these guys have adapted the same strategy and they use that power up at the right time, it can definitely play a massive difference for the overall results.
We've seen it impact results quite heavily. So it's definitely somebody that's either going to have a massive sprint on them and can push the probably north of 10 for a period, or somebody that's maybe doesn't have as much of a kick but understands the gaming component of Zwift, and obviously when to apply those power-ups.
Daryl Steedman backing Francis Janssen van Rensburg for the win in the ladies race, and we also see Brad Elliott backing Joe for the ladies overall win, and Dian Yankees for the men's win. So that's I mean, some good predictions there. Greg Stedman backing Dion as well. A lot of Dion fans here.
Yeah.
It'll be great to see him. I mean, he's a junior, also competing in next week's virtual South African Championship. So for him to get the win today will definitely be a confidence booster going into the national championships next week.
Yeah. If there is somebody out there that's possibly riding on a junior that's Johannesburg based, and you are riding on a piece of tech that, there's I wouldn't say some rubbish out there, but if you want to stand the best chance, be on a smart trainer and give yourself a bit of a, I wouldn't say an advantage, but line up on a level playing field. Get in touch with me. You're welcome to borrow my trainer for the race. So yeah.
I was just about to say, Jamie, for those people out there who are not juniors and want to make their equipment available for a few junior cyclists who don't have the smart trainer or the type of equipment needed for this type of event, then please get in touch and we can make those.
Yeah, I think get in touch
available.
with Support SA Talent through the Facebook page, we'll get it to you or get you to somewhere that probably easier for us to get it to you. You can get used to the platform and stand the biggest chance. See, we probably got just over 1.5 K to go. Somebody pushing
who's trying to push the boundaries there and get away in the last kilometer.
It's Jay Vaderman. Is it? I think possibly a little bit too far.
Who should we watch coming into the line here, Jamie? I think one of the usual suspects, Tyron White or.
I think
Travis Stedman might be a good one too.
Yeah,
to watch.
Travis probably.
But
Travis is a safe bet. I think Tyron, the advantage you've got there is it's somebody that doesn't push out as much power as everybody else, but manages to win races and be in the results every week. So he's probably an interesting wheel to follow versus somebody that is, is has got a big traditional finish on them.
Some riders who could definitely put in upset the usual suspects and the race winners. Dino van Heerden, definitely someone who can pack out a good amount of watts in a sprint. But coming now, we're in under 1 kilometer to go.
Yeah, 500 meters to go. Someone's
still off the front there. Oh, but another attack going. We see Callum Ormiston trying to close the gap here to the leader out in front. Callum Ormiston just come back from a training camp in the Graskop area, which
who
is
the
very
green
hilly.
jersey wearer? That was your man from Durban.
Martin Hillerman. So Martin Hillerman going off the front. Did he claim it, or was that Callum that went off the front? It was. It is Callum. So Callum representing the Pro Touch green there, wearing a green shirt. He is now putting in a massive effort to try and ride across to Jay Vaderman, who is off the front, only 2 seconds ahead at the moment. But let's take a look at the view from the front, we can see the riders coming across.
I think a guy like Callum that doesn't have a massive finish on him,
he needs to take his chances.
Yeah, you got to roll that ass and have a go. You can see the guys are starting to claw him back. Again, Miles, I never managed to get the kilometers correct.
I know that's something we're gonna have to fix in the.
It's not to be fair. It's nothing that's coming from us. I mean, Zwift. You click on a route and it tells you the distance and you take it for granted that is the case. I was under the impression we were a 54 kilometer race tonight, it seems we're not.
Yeah, so I mean, still that rider's still up ahead. So the screen that we watch is the actual screen that the riders are watching. And normally, if you're riding on Zwift, it'll tell you how far they left it'll tell you how long is left in terms of distance. We can't see that information because the name is taking place of that information, so we can't see it. But if we look at the Callum's heart rate now, that effort definitely sparked his heart rate, 191 heart rate. So he's trying to hold the wheel here at the back. He's back in the group. But let's see. We've got Dino van Heerden in there. We've got Martin Hillerman. We've got Travis Stedman, Tyron White, Brad Gaveris as well. But Jay Vaderman now getting reeled back in by Callum hitting a 200 heart rate, Jamie. Jeez.
Is that the finish line in the distance here? I'd think so with the way these boys are kicking.
Dylan Geary still up there. Jonathan Bauer. Tyron White's up there. Oh, looks like Tyron White. Oh, just getting on the line. Who's that?
Pipped.
Brad Guveris coming around him just in the final moments of that sprint. So, Brad, well done. Predicted it right for today. It was, but yeah, jeez, look at that. They're going absolutely freewheeling now.
There's somebody on a TT bike.
So that is Tyron. Tyron's on a TT bike. S-Works TT bike. So,
That's different.
sprinting on a TT
Sprinting
bike.
on a TT bike and doing quite a good job of it. So.
Well done. So that is Tyron White just getting pipped on the line by Brad Guveris.
I think Brendan van Heerden possibly
Brendan van Heerden in third.
Unofficial third, yeah.
But another great race. So the results do get fed through quite quickly to the results section from Zwift Power. So if you're wanting to find out the results, you can head over to our results page in a few moments. So probably in about an hour or so, and those results will be up already. But let's head over to the ladies' race. That was the finish of the men's A batch. Let's head over to Joe van der Winkel's screen. So just typing in her name.
Yeah, let's see the girls, ladies. Last time we looked, there was 4 or 5 of them in that group. That
like
obviously were part of the Support SA Talent Series. And
see Courtney Webb there is 17 seconds ahead of Joe at the moment. So, geez, these ladies are coming into about, it was a bit longer than 54. So, about 6 or 7 kilometers to go.
Yeah, just under 10, I'd reckon. And that's a sizable gap that Courtney's managed to build in a short space of time.
So she's winning the ladies' race overall. So she's the first out of 64 riders at the moment. She is 15 seconds ahead of that group, putting in a big effort here. She's in time trial mode, pushing 300 watts, 320 watts, heart rate climbing there, 188 beats per minute. So her legs are screaming. She wants to get to the
Courtney,
finish.
a Joburg-based rider, Miles, or?
Good question. Yeah, I think she's from Pretoria. Could be wrong. If you know Courtney, let us know where she's from. The KZN rider is also representing and quite dominant. But let us know where Courtney's from. Well done, Absolute Motion guys from Absolute Motion.
I see Lynette there saying that she did back Travis at some stage and won a bottle of, obviously, I think she was one of the Dualhof winners early on in the series. So, yeah, no wine this week.
Dualhof wines, you can order. You can order the wine, dualhof.com. You can get up to 50% discount on your orders. They will deliver as soon as they're allowed to. So all the people that put in orders during our first series, they got delivered, obviously. And yeah, get your orders in. They'll deliver as soon as they can. Some very good tasting wine. Jamie, I know you had some of their gin.
Yeah, I've had some of their gin. The gin is magic. I'm not a big wine fan, so I can't lend any support to that subject. But yeah, their gin is very tasty.
That gap opening up now, up to 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Courtney is she's in time trial. She's putting down the hammer and she's gone.
Yeah, she.
Still quite a long way to go.
There's a long way to go, but that gap's growing. That's I don't want to put the commentator's curse on Courtney, but yeah.
I'm sure I predicted her for the win, or not.
You might have.
I have to go back into the stream, see if I called it.
But still, I mean, Chloe's still there. I think
the gap's coming down now, actually.
First year or second year junior, down to 22 seconds. So I think the momentum of this group that is there is obviously going to reel the gap in. But I think to try and lose 23 seconds over the next probably 5 kilometers is not very easy.
We see that Daryl Stedman, I wouldn't say confirming, but they have. He says that Brad was first, Tyron White was second, and Travis Stedman was third. So there's your unofficial podium.
Okay.
Greg also saying gin for the win. So at least we know what your go-to drink is there, Greg. Thank you. Absolute Motion backing Courtney, Tiff, and France. So Francis Janssen from Rensburg, obviously Absolute Motion rider. Those 3 riders from Absolute Motion. So yeah, what's the gap looking like there? It is. You can't really see at the moment. Let's.
Last time I checked, it was still 22
Still
odd
20,
seconds.
28
gone out to
seconds.
28 again.
Staying very consistent.
Yeah, head down. I mean, sitting at just under, poking just under 300 watts, and nearly at 190 heart rate. So it's a proper effort, and she's intent on staying away.
Jamie, I don't want to be horrible to Joe, but it's great to see some competition for Joe.
It is, and I think Joe would be the first person to acknowledge that. She's, how can I say, she's done in the sport what these youngsters are setting out to do. So it wouldn't surprise me if most of them have got a poster of Joe on the back of their wall,
100%,
and on the back of their bedroom door. So Joe will be the first person to say, if these youngsters can stick it to her and take the racing, then by all means. And I think from a motivational point of view, to be able to kind of give one of the more illustrious South African professional ladies and somebody that's still so good on a bike, a little bit of a run for money, I think it does everybody the world of good.
100%. Joe started cycling quite late in her life compared to where these youngsters would normally start. So she didn't really go through the junior ranks and so on. She kind of started quite late, and she won the 94.7 in 2009. And she kind of left the sport for a bit and came back, and she was twice as strong. So the rider from Sandton City Cycle Nation, Joe van Overwinkel, a great ambassador for the sport, and it's great to see her still involved and also giving back to the younger riders. Tiffany Keep, another powerhouse when it comes to ladies cycling. She is
on the road and on the mountain bike.
Road and mountain bike.
Very bright future.
Represented South Africa at African Games. Not the Olympics yet, but I'm sure she's aspiring to be an Olympian one day.
Yeah, I think there was Worlds representation from Worlds. And like I said previously, I think traditionally a strong mountain bike background that's grown into the road, which that way around you always find that the riders that are good on mountain bikes always lend to be good road riders.
Courtney pushing that gap out to close to 40 seconds there for a moment. It came back down and now it's going back up again. So I think that group behind her is playing cat and mouse every now and then, which is helping her. But she got a good
There's even
hairstyle
gaps
going.
in that group starting to open up. So if you look at
looking casual there, casual glasses, the blue bike, looking very very casual.
Yeah, that's the bike I just managed to get off, your traditional out-of-the-box Zwift bike. So I don't know what level Courtney's at on Zwift, but she's rocking a traditional aluminium bike.
The fastest bike in the game, which a few months ago when I was racing and riding on Zwift, the fastest bike in the game was the Specialized Venge. I don't know if it's changed.
Okay.
But if it costs 1 million sweat drops to purchase that bike, and you have to get to I think level 20 to be able to unlock it. So it's you got to put in a fair amount of riding to access the fastest bike in the game. So I don't know if that's actually the fastest bike in real life or how much that costs Specialized, but the fastest bike in the game it used to be a Tron bike, which to get a Tron bike, Jamie, it's a lot of hours on the bike. You got to do 50,000 meters of vertical elevation on Zwift to be able to access the Tron bike, which is the kind of glow in the dark bike, and it's still not the fastest bike. So the Specialized.
I think it's kind of a bragging tool for me.
Of course.
It's like I've got my Tron bike, so then you're dealing with somebody who rides a hell of a lot.
So Courtney coming to the finish line, she is up to 50 seconds ahead of her
I think we come into this dead end here. It's almost like the Champs- Élysées. You come into this dead end, you do a switch back, and then you head back down kind of the finish straight. And it comes up on you quite quickly.
Courtney not having to waste a power up coming into the finish line to be able.
Do you get to roll them over, or is it if you don't use them now, you don't use them?
No,
I mean, you can't save them.
No, it stays on your
It's
profile.
race dependent. Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it stays in your
So
pocket.
you can go into a race with a power up you've earned before the event, and you
Okay.
can also have a power up going out
You
of the
can
event. So
Pick them up out on the route.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and
looks
a
like she's
healthy
using
lead.
a-
I mean, you're nearly up to a minute.
she's using a
So-
breakaway burrito, for the whole kind of second half of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big burrito. So yeah, nearly a minute gap. So well done, Courtney. It's by no feat a small effort to create that kind of gap, considering the girls and ladies that were in the group with you. So yeah, well done. Nice solid win today. You can tap off the gas now and roll in with your hands in the air for probably the next at least kilometre. And
Yeah,
you'll
she
still
can
be
start
safe.
to ease up now. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to get second and third place. I think it's going to be a sprint to round up the podium. But let's just watch Courtney go across the line, put her hands up in the air, and take the Aquile Tour Durban event number 2 quite comfortably.
Yeah, there's I think that's the last 100 meters or 200 meters, that vertical line on the side for the sprint. And yeah, here comes the finish kite. So I think maybe roll back to either Chloe or Joe's bike. And
There we go,
yeah,
Chloe winning
let's watch the
today's
fin in.
event.
So well done, Courtney.
So this is the sprint for the podium. Thanks to Calvin Lowe for the comment saying it's a great series and he can't wait for the next one. Well, the next one was same time, same place next week. That is will be event number 3 in the series, number 3 out of 6.
Here we go.
Someone's trying to put in a massive attack here, but this is the sprint for the line. Oh, who got it? I clicked the wrong button there for a moment, but this is the sprint for second place. I don't know who got it.
Yeah, it was tight.
It was Tiffany Keep or Joe van der Winkel or Francis Janssen van Rensburg. I was watching the wrong screen there. I was watching
Jay van der Berg, but I'm not sure.
So I don't think Joe was in there because I was watching her screen and she was at the back of the group. So great to see some different names at the top of the leaderboard tonight in the ladies' race. Courtney Webb winning the ladies' race. In second was either Tiffany or Francis Janssen van Rensburg, if I saw correctly. It'll be great to confirm that. But the results do come out quite fast after these riders are finished. So
Yeah, and the results now obviously been pushed into a kind of a small billing engine, and it's spitting out the results as the weights are in there, the average power and the watts. So it's quite an interesting stats to drill into if you are somebody that's trying to be more competitive week in, week out, where you can actually have a physical look at the riders' profiles and see what they've done in order to get those results or find themselves in the points.
1 hour 22 minutes of racing for the ladies tonight. That's a big effort before dinner.
Yeah, that's a big effort. You're going to battle to force any food down.
But I think that's a wrap, Jamie. What do you think?
Yeah,
for the
that's
evening?
it.
We've got our men's
second event in the Aquile Tour de Urban.
Yep, massive
Thanks
thank you
for
to them.
Yeah, thanks. I think we had north of 120 riders that came out and raced and got involved. So thanks to everybody for supporting.
Massive thank you to Trade Route Active, our week in, week out sponsor, which has helped us put these virtual races together. Thank you to Dual of Wines as well. You can head over to their website, dualf.com, use the promo code PROTOUCH to get some discount on some wine and gin if you're a gin fan. A massive thank you to the sponsors. Let's head over to our sponsors page quickly before we sign off. So the Aquile Tour Durban brought to us by Canubia Mall, Cycle Lab, the Sharks, and it's always done for a massive, for a great cause, should I say rather, the Domino Foundation. So Aquile Tour Durban supporting the Domino Foundation, the Support SA Talent Virtual Racing Series put on for the Full Legged Foundation. So 2 great causes that your donations are going to. So there's the donations page. It's your last chance. Quickly get your phones out. I'll hold it there for a couple of seconds and you can scan that QR code and quickly get your donations in, as much as what you like. Goes towards funding South African cyclists competing on the international stage. We will be hosting the Junior SA Champs next week Saturday, as well as continuing to bring this series to you on a Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock. So let's head over to the screen. Jamie, thank you once again for your effort and time.
Nice to have been
through.
back this week.
And are you in next week, or are we getting someone else?
I'm not sure. I'll have to ask my boss, Rebecca Elliott, if I'm allowed back. But yeah, it's what, a 6-race series, including, is that correct?
Including these two.
So a little bit of a shorter. What Kent Main, who's the kind of the driving force behind the series, obviously put out a little bit of a questionnaire and asked the guys what things we need to change up, and some of the feedback was that the series is possibly 10 races is a little bit long in the teeth, and kind of, I think the guys, it's difficult for them to commit to every Wednesday for 10 weeks in a row. So yeah, it's rolled back to 6, and you hit the reset button every 6 weeks and you go again. So
I did in fact have a chat to Kent on Monday, and he was saying that the next 4 races there's going to be a slightly different format. It's quite exciting. It's going to be he's looking to do a tour of Europe, so there'll be an individual time trial, and it's actually, they're looking at taking your total time for the races. So it's going to actually be like a normal tour, like a
so a couple of different
tour.
disciplines.
Correct. We might have a time trial in there, possibly a team time trial if we can get enough teams involved, but the time trial format will probably be an individual time trial, and then looking at a very kind of a climbing stage, a sprinting stage, and then a kind of punchy stage. So trying to mix it up.
I think is cool. Like I was moaning a little bit, but making my sentiments that it gets a bit monotonous on Zwift seeing the same traditional formats. I think that's a great idea. It makes it exciting for all disciplines across road riding, and I think it'll make it quite interesting to see how tight it gets at the end when you start adding in some individual efforts.
Yep. So guys, head over to the Support SA Talent Facebook page to find out more. The next 4 weeks are going to be very exciting. So there we have it. Thanks for tuning in tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.
Take care. Ciao.